Oh, hello, everybody. Episode number 115 of YWC Football Talk. It's been a blast. But you know what? Back to some more of the OG guests, some OG buddies here this week to celebrate Tom Brady week. We got Joe Provost III, our resident Tom Brady fan, and of course, Patriots super fan Nytmare 10 once again. But not to Phil's knowledge before we started recording, because it is Thursday, September 30th, for those of you out there. The NFL just announced their halftime show, and Phil doesn't know who's doing it yet, so we're going to surprise it for him live on air. The NFL's halftime show for Super Bowl 56 will feature Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar.
Wow, what a lineup. Wow, okay. All right. I'm digging that. There's some people in there that I don't care too much about, but there's some I definitely do. So, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a lineup you can't really go wrong with. I looked at this right now, and I'm like, I know last year was really good with the weekend in Tampa and everything, but this right here also too screams LA, considering I know Snoop, Dre, Kendrick are all from the Los Angeles area.
They just might need to screen Eminem's rap before he goes in. But other than that,
no, the 313's got to represent.
It's great. Where is the Super Bowl this year? I don't.
SoFi Stadium in LA.
That's right. I knew that. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but no, obviously we know why we're all here, guys. Like I said, it's Tom Brady week. We're going to discuss that game last. Joe has a surprise for us, actually, too. Joe, do you want to tell Phil where you'll be this Sunday?
Yeah. I think he knows. I commented on somebody we mutually follow, and he threw a like on it. So I think
I do know, and I'm so freaking jealous, Joe.
Yeah. So no, it kind of worked out with my schedule. So I am going up to Foxborough, first time ever. That was always a bucket list for me, right? I wanted to get to a game in Foxborough. Brady obviously playing for the Pats, never just kind of came to fruition. So I couldn't pass this up, and I mean, it'll be a cool little moment too. He'll probably break the passing record probably in the first, if not the second quarter. So yeah, but anyways, we'll probably get into all that later on. But yeah, I'll be in Foxborough this weekend for the first time.
Which we're both here jealous of, because for both Phil and I, that is pure bucket list items.
I actually have friends that moved up there recently, and it's if tickets were decent, which they're not, so I would have went. But God, I'm jealous. Yeah. But I'm happy for you too, Joe. That's an awesome moment to be. Yeah. Question is, are you wearing a Bucs Brady jersey?
So I thought long and hard about this, and I'm going mutual. I'm gonna be wearing just a TB12 hat, but I'm going with the Michigan Brady jersey. So
that's
it's kind of
actually, yeah, that's perfect to be that's awesome. That's perfect. Being a Brady
not
fan,
mutual, kind of more neutral. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. I like that.
I appreciate that too. You've seen it too at games before. I remember with the Warriors when they were in the NBA Finals. There's always a guy in a Davidson number 30 Curry jersey, which I just kind of like that when you appreciate college. It's hell, I even have a Tom Brady Michigan jersey, but I'll be wearing my Brady jersey at home on Sunday with the Super Bowl 51 patch on it, which I think that was a Super Bowl that made Phil jump into the pool, if I'm not mistaken.
41, the Falcons. Yes, it was.
Yes, the Falcons Super Bowl.
That's a one and done because it was freezing. But yes.
Oh, you gotta love it. Well, anyway, folks, we're gonna save that game for last, obviously, just for reasons that are beknownst to us. Save the best for last. I just want to quickly ask you guys for tonight's game, because we're obviously this is a different episode because of time constraints on my end. We're recording before Thursday Night Football begins. So, I'm guessing, just going to go on a whim, do we all have the Bengals winning, or does anyone call an upset?
Yeah, I'm going Bengals.
Yeah, I have Bengals winning, but if you're ever, I wouldn't be
shocked.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked because it's Thursday Night Football. Almost anything can happen. Wasn't it Thursday night? Well, I don't know if it was. Yeah, it was. Wasn't it Thursday Night Football that Brady lost to the Bears last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything can happen. So it's
the Nick Foles Bears.
The Nick Foles, exactly. So and who knows? All three might start at this point, which is not possible. But the Bears will find a way. But anyways, but yeah. So yeah, Trevor Lawrence has got to have a breakout game at some point, right? I don't know, but I think the Bengals win. Bengals coming off a strong win against the Steelers, which they seem to always win that first Steelers game. I don't know why I didn't pick them last week, but whatever.
As soon as Ben had that pec injury come up, Phil, this is actually funny. Danny sent me a tweet from Aditi Kikobwala last week saying that Ben was hurt. I said right away, Bengals upset. I called it then and there. I just picked them to cover the spread last week, and I was just all right, cool. But with tonight, though, I know I said earlier, I think we all Bengals winning. the 7.5 point spread is where it gets kind of dicey for like gambling out there. Because for folks, if you don't know, if you don't follow me yet, Instagram, TikTok, I do post my best bets. My one for tonight, I do have to say, is I like the Bengals to win, but the spread and the over under is where it concerns me because it is 46. Because part of me feels like this could be like like the Giants football team Thursday nighter, but this could also be like last week where it gets kind of slow.
If you said the over under is 46.
Yeah, 46.
I'm not really a betting man, but I'd take the under. I don't think that's going to go over that.
I think it'll be close. Like I could see it being like, I don't know, 21 to let's say 13.
Yeah, that sounds more about right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as far as like covers go too, I mean, like the NFL by far to me is the trickiest when it comes to like point spreads because they play that soft coverage if anybody gets a lead. And I mean, there's so many garbage time scores and backdoor covers. It's so tough.
Yeah, I agree.
Like a lot of people lost money at week 1 when they picked the Niners to cover, and the Lions had that backdoor cover. The first game on Sunday's docket that I see here is Giants and Saints, and I'm sorry. I know people are saying that the Giants match up well. I've seen a couple people say that. You have to go Saints with this game. I'm sorry. It's just their first game back in the Superdome. We all know what that building's like. We've been in that building, all three of us at the same time. That building's going to be loud Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I think it being in New Orleans, there's not even like, so maybe there's like a 1% chance if it's away or something, but nah. The Giants are terrible. I don't care what anyone said. Like, I don't know. The Saints are like, obviously for those that don't know, did not get to watch the Pats Saints last week, but I did my research, followed it, did all that kind of stuff. But the Saints look good. I mean, they lost to a division rival, so it's kind of like you kind of like don't weigh that one as much. So but I don't think they're gonna lose to the Giants. Like that's not gonna be. Jameis Winston should have a day.
This is a game where I could see a backdoor cover happening. To be honest.
What's the spread on this one?
7.5 again.
Yeah, I'm with Joe though, man. Like spread, like every time I see spread, like I feel like the spread in the NFL is always like 6 to 7. Like even we'll talk about our game later about the as far as the spread, but it's like I just feel like even games that that look like blowouts aren't predicted to be blowouts. Like so it's like it's just interesting when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going with the Saints here, and I feel pretty comfortable in the Saints actually covering this one. This is one where I kind of look at it, and I know like a touchdown is kind of considered, probably what average, like Phil was saying, to a little bit on the heavier side. You see a lot of like 6.5, 6s, 5.5s. But I don't know, like Giants, if I'm not mistaken, have played. This is definitely going to be their loudest road test, maybe of the entire year. If I'm not mistaken, they played 2 out of the 3 at home. So going away from their friendly confines of MetLife, I don't see the Giants pulling this one out.
No, and the more I think about it too with this Giants team, I honestly wouldn't be shocked if they finish with a bad record if they clean house at the end of the year. I know, because I feel like this too, and I know Giants fans are going to get on my case because we obviously know some personally. I feel like this team is in that position, where it's like them and the Atlanta Falcons are almost in that same territory where they aren't as they're not as good as people think they are.
Yeah, I do like. I think Daniel Jones has potential. It's just the rest of that team. They've just got like they just got a couple. They got a couple pieces on defense. Barkley, who knows you would assume eventually he gets back to 100%, but that line is bad. The defensive line's not good. It's like, where do you start? And pretty soon, if Daniel Jones continues to progress, then you got to pay him, and then you're under a cap, that's a big cap hit. And, are you going to be able to build around him long term? It gets kind of murky. But they're just kind of the worst place you can kind of be is like not super bad, but not good enough to where like you're trending in the right direction. And that's kind of like where I see them.
Yeah. Phil, go ahead.
was just gonna comment on his Daniel Jones thing. Like I really look at Daniel Jones like a Sam Darnold. Like yes, he's obviously played better in New York than Darnold had played in New York, I guess you could say. But like I just feel like it's the same situation. Like I feel like in the end, the Giants aren't gonna win enough to where they're gonna end up moving on. Unfortunately, to Daniel Jones. Like that's how I see it. Giants fans may not like me saying that, but I just think that like I don't think they're gonna build around Daniel Jones. I think eventually it's not gonna be enough. And they're going to be in the top 5, and there's just going to be a quarterback they're not going to want to pass on. I mean, I just think we've seen it too much. The Jets are a prime example of it, of a more recent case. So,
my whole thing with the Giants is just it's not so much like Daniel Jones is a bad quarterback. I think it's just there was a lot of more or less unrealistic expectations where I feel like everyone was assuming, this is a playoff team and everything like that. But at the same time, too, this team is I still think, look, week 2, I consider it like lucky, unlucky. Look, stuff happens in the NFL. But week 3, losing to the Atlanta Falcons is inexcusable considering how bad the Atlanta Falcons are this year. So if they go into New Orleans and keep it close, okay, look, you're 0-4, but it's like moral victory. But at the same time, too, they run a gauntlet coming up. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I'm going to pull it up right now. After the Saints, at Cowboys, versus Rams, versus Panthers, at Chiefs, versus Raiders, bye week, at Buccaneers. Like,
yeah, good luck.
You got to try to steal one this weekend if you're the Giants. I don't think it happens, but man, that is just murderer's row right there, especially considering how good the Cowboys are.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And next game on the docket, Chiefs at Eagles. I think the Chiefs bounce back and win here. I know they're 1-2, but I look at the Chiefs as like, Phil, do you remember 2018 Patriots where we lost to the Lions on Sunday Night Football and then we murdered the Dolphins the next week?
Right.
I could see that happening with the Chiefs, but at the same time too, the Chiefs in their last 11 are 1-10 against the spread. So from a gambling perspective, I want to avoid them, but at the same time too, I'm like, look, the Eagles are not good. And it's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So I'm going to toss up on who to take to cover here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Saints. I mean, not Saints. I think the Chiefs. I mean, let's be honest. They've lost to 2 really good teams back to back. So I mean, like, this is a team that they're much better than. I wouldn't go as far as saying the Eagles are like terrible, but they're not. I mean, I have no proof to show that they're like better than that right now. I do think they're okay. But I don't think Kansas City's gonna struggle with them. Like, I mean, I'm sure this is Kansas City. They probably go down 14-0 and win 42-14. But so other than that, I think Kansas City will be fine. What is the spread on this?
Let me see. It went up to 7. It was at 5.5 before, but it got bumped up.
I mean,
yeah, that opened way too low in my opinion. I think the Chiefs get back on track. They're just kind of, I feel like they've kind of just been like sleepwalking, right? Like they're kind of, I hate to compare it to like a college situation, but the year that Clemson lost a heartbreaker to Bama in the national championship, then the next year they went and played like 4 games, like NC State, they should have arguably lost. Bunch of just kind of sleptwalk through the year, and you could just tell like they were just waiting for the more meaningful games. And this team has enough talent to turn it on. I think they'll try to get Tyreek Hill involved. He's been pretty quiet to start the year overall, especially for his standards. So I do think that the Chiefs have a kind of a coming out party this week. People are starting to talk about them, like what's wrong with them. And usually, the good guys turn it on when you start to hear that noise. And Mahomes is no different. So I like the Chiefs big in this one. I'm not a Jalen Hurts guy, for the record.
My whole thing with the Jalen Hurts thing is, look, you take a deuce, you look back at it, you don't look back at it, you just flush it and move on to the next one, So one of the greatest soundbites of all time. But no, my thing with the Eagles too, it's just that I think them whipping Atlanta week 1 was like, where you get boosted with like wrongful confidence, where you're like, we're good, and then you get brought back down to earth. That's what's happened to the Eagles in these last 2 games.
Yeah, and the Falcons, like we said, are not a good football team. I think they lost one of their defensive captains, Brandon Graham. I mean, he's been the heart and soul of that defense now for the last handful of years.
Brandon Brooks too.
Yeah, so they're kind of in a weird spot as well.
Big Rat said it on this podcast a couple weeks ago, actually. He was like that. This Eagles team is good unless they get hurt. And what happened? They got hurt. I'm sorry to say it, but that's just what happened. This was a team where if they get injured, they're in trouble. We saw it last year, and we're continuing to see it now, unfortunately.
It seems to happen with Philly a lot. It really does.
It unfortunately does. Next on the docket, this is where the spread game gets really weird. I don't think I've ever seen this in the NFL before, but the Buffalo Bills are a 16.5-point favorite over the Houston Texans. This is like college level. Like, I feel like it could be a surefire thing as after the way Josh Allen looked last week. I feel like Josh Allen did that same thing where Mahomes is going to do this Sunday, where through 2 weeks, everyone's like, oh, what's up with Josh Allen? He doesn't look good. And then he's like, all right, guys, just let me take it from here because I think that's what Mahomes is going to do Sunday in Philly. But with this 16.5, I feel like at the same time, too, it could either cash in or it's fool's gold,
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, that's I didn't know the spread was that big. I'm like, wow, okay. But yeah, I mean, it's right. It's not. I'm terrified of betting, so very few things are going to get me to bet. So like the spread, I'd be like, okay, that's great, but it still seems like it's too high. But yeah, I mean, Buffalo's going to win this game. I mean, it's not, Houston's got some random quarterback they drafted.
Davis the Neck Mills.
Mills, yeah. I was trying to think of a good nickname. Good job, Griff. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, are we gonna talk about do we think Watson's going? Like there's starting to be some like more talk about that again. Do we think that's gonna happen?
I honestly don't want to discuss that until I don't want to discuss anything about that until the court case stuff is settled. Because honestly, I think it would be really shitty of the Houston Texans to do, and I think the NFL would try to bar it from happening if the stuff in court isn't settled. So I'd rather that get settled first before the actual trade goes down.
I agree with that. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen though.
Then again, the NFL can be a scummy organization, so who really knows? I could see it happening, but in a world where society goes by morals, it shouldn't.
I mean, there's people that have been charged with like some really bad crimes and then come back like after a year of hiatus and they're back. So anyways.
Yeah, I'm pretty aligned here. I think obviously going the Bills, and while we're on the topic, I mean the Bucs did just sign Sherman, and he's got some outstanding like legal stuff going on. Bucs supposedly did their due diligence, all that fun stuff, but it's weird. There are like it does seem that there are like crazy double standards sometimes in the league.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a whole opinion about not the Richard. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up about Richard Sherman, but I obviously wanted Brady to win the Super Bowl when he was in it. Obviously, once the game was there, and that was the two people we were playing. But I wanted Antonio Brown to get 0 points. Like the fact that guy has a job in the league. That's the one thing I'm anti on Brady against is like that he's so inclined to give that man a job because that's anyways. But I could rant all day about that. Antonio Brown is one of his prime examples. Joe.
He did serve a suspension though, so that's where I feel like it is a little different. Like he had an 8-game suspension. I didn't even think about the Richard Sherman incident actually until I saw Dan Graziano from ESPN tweet about it, and I was like, it's a really good thing because it was just a scary video to see of him slamming on the door and stuff, and apparently he was drunk and everything, and it was a really scary video. But no, I'm glad that the Bucs came out and said that they did their due diligence.
But is that what they're gonna say? I
know, but you gotta paint that picture.
Well, I mean, I just think that's for PR, though. I mean, I'm not saying they didn't do it. I totally think they did, but it's just I don't know. Anyways, moving on.
That's all good. I think that I know the Sunday Nighter is like the stealing is the bell of the ball, if you will. It's like the grand all be all of games this weekend. We have a few good sneaky good ones, and this is one of them. Carolina at Dallas. I think this is a pretty good litmus test for both teams to see where I think more or less for Carolina to see where they're at. I'm going to go to Joe first, obviously, just because I know Joe, because Phil and I were going back and forth a bit there. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, Carolina, I think, is moving in the right direction, but I are they going to contend for a wild card spot? Hard to say. I think this game will tell a lot. But I think that they're going to come up short this weekend.
Yeah, I think You said it really well, Joe. I think that this is an ultimate test for Carolina's defense. A lot of people are raving him. Danny's one of them. I'm not saying the defense isn't good, because it is good. I just think this is going to be the true test for it. And I will say, in regards to that, because I do think Dallas will win, I think that don't look at the game while it's still a game. Like, if Dallas pulls away, like, don't start like criticizing Carolina at that point, because at that point, like you want to see how they are when the game's a game, if that makes sense. Like that's where you're going to really want to see the test for Carolina's defense, because I mean, if Dallas ends up taking it away, I think people will start saying, well, Carolina's exposed, their defense is terrible. It's like, well, yeah, but once an offense starts taking off, like a Dallas offense, like if they take off, I feel like you can't really fault Carolina. I mean, any defense eventually, if they're on the field all the time. So it's really going to be on the Carolina offense without CMC to see if they can keep that defense off the field all the time, and can score some points. But I do think it could be close early, but I think Dallas pulls away.
To be fair, I'm with both of you. I think the Dallas Cowboys do win this game. It's just, I think Carolina's going to put up a fight, but it's not enough. Like, I look at the spread here, it is 4.5. So I'd probably go for the Cowboys to cover, but at the same time, too, I think a lot of this is going to have to do with if Dallas can win the offensive line battle. If they can do that and then let Dak, do his thing, they'll win. Like, Carolina can win this game. But I feel like at the end of the day, it's going to come down to not how Dallas's defense plays, but how good Dak Prescott can look.
And I'll say this: if Carolina comes in and pretty much leads most of the game and wins the game, like, that's a big statement. Would you guys agree with that? Like, I think if it's back and forth, that's one thing. But like, if Carolina kind of like leads the way then the entire time, that's a big statement. So I will say that.
You know what this game reminds me of? Do you guys remember last year Cleveland versus Dallas, where Cleveland went in and was absolutely destroying Dallas, but then Dallas kind of came back and was like, I think it was like a Big 12 score. It was like 55 to like 47 or something like that. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying if Cleveland can Carolina, can come in and do something like that to Dallas, it'll say a lot. If they can hang in tight, it's like, okay, cool, they're here. But if they walk out of this weekend out of AT&T Stadium 4-0, you can't take this team lightly anymore.
No, I agree. I would agree.
Yep.
And then I'm actually, there's a potential that I could go to the Carolina, New England at Carolina game. So I'm really hoping they're not as legit. Because if they beat Dallas, I'd be a little more worried about that game now.
Matt versus Sam, baby.
And the dog agreed.
Joe, thoughts?
Yeah, just kind of, I'm aligned with you guys here. I'm taking Dallas. Like I said, I think Carolina, like I said, I think they're going in the right direction. I just don't see them winning this one. And I will, if they can pull this one out, especially without McCaffrey, they'll have my attention a little bit more. But right now, I think they're, like I said, heading in the right direction, just not quite there yet. I would like to see them add a couple more pieces on offense going into the future. But I think the Darnold acquisition was working out, just how everyone envisioned in that front office. So credit to them. But they're just not quite ready to. This just isn't a game that I see them winning yet.
No, exactly. Cleveland at Minnesota. I think you got to go Cleveland here. I know Minnesota looked really good against Seattle last week, and Joe would probably speak to this best, but I feel like Minnesota does that every year, where they kind of like win a game where it's like, you know what, hey, look, we're this good team, but then they kind of like have the game next week where they fall back to earth.
Yeah, and again, I just don't trust Kirk Cousins. I just don't, for multiple reasons. And the Vikings are a team that, ever since like they had that kind of like playoff moment, it's like, what have you done since? You might knock off a team here or there, play spoiler, but they're a team that not taken super seriously. This is a game where if the Browns want to solidify themselves a little bit in the AFC North, this is a game that they got to go win. They got to beat the Vikings.
I agree, Joe. I think that's perfect because I do believe that the Browns, this is a big game for them, more so than it is Minnesota. I mean, it's a big game for both, but the Browns need a win like this. They need a win to be like, okay, because the NFC North, I mean, AFC North right now is like, who's going to be the top head right now. It looks like Baltimore. I mean, it looks like Baltimore, but I still believe that it's kind of wide open, like Griff just said. So I mean, I think this is would be a big statement game for them. Minnesota, that offense is like ridiculous, man. Like when healthy, obviously Cook can't stay healthy, but what running back these days seems to be able to stay healthy? Let's put it that way. There are a few, um, but yeah, like if Cook sells, you have Cook, Thielen, Jefferson. It's like, and Kirk, and I agree with you on Joe about Kirk Cousins. Like I'm just not sold on him either. But like when he plays good, it's like okay, maybe he is the guy. But it's like once again, their problem is defense. Their defense is just gives up way too many points most of the time. So, and with the Cleveland offense that's kind of fiery now, Cleveland, I don't think they'll have Landry, right? But they have Odell back now. I can't keep up with their injuries at receiver, but so that's a little, that's up there. Nick Chubb's amazing. The fact that he's not credited for more being better, and the fact they have two really good running backs actually, him and Kareem Hunt is good for Cleveland, where you don't have to put too much on Baker. But I think Cleveland wins this game, and they definitely do not need to lose this game. But I think Cleveland wins.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. I gotta go. We gotta ride with the dog pound here. Indianapolis, Miami. These are two teams that are just bad bad on their luck. Like New England obviously lost to Miami, but then ever since then Miami got killed by Buffalo, and then they went to Vegas and they lost. I'm gonna say something. Whenever Vegas and Miami get together, it's magic. I want to see that in the playoffs one day. But for now, we have Indianapolis at Miami. I want to go Dolphins, but I'm leaning Colts. I honestly don't know, but I think I'm going to take the smart play and go Dolphins here.
Wow, so I'm actually going to go Colts. I know it's tough, right? Like Miami has some dudes, but they're I feel like redundant saying this. Maybe it's just the teams that we're talking about, but I feel like Miami's just a mess. Not a Tua, I know he's not playing, but not a Tua guy. Hated that pick for them. Almost as much as I hated Okuda to the Lions, but it's bad. I mean, this is a winnable game for the Colts, and I think that they pull it out.
Yeah, this was tough for me when I first looked at it. Like, Indy's played a tough schedule. I mean, they've played Seattle, they've played the Rams, who look Super Bowl caliber, and then they play Tennessee, who's they're not gonna sweep Tennessee in the division. That Tennessee's a good squad as well. So, I mean, this is one that they need to win, though. I mean, I do believe that they need to win this game. I know we just said that about Cleveland, but I mean, this is a game you need to win. They don't have Tua. They're on their backup. Brissett, Brissett, who used to be there. Like, you should know enough to get the job done. But that being said, I actually think Miami's winning this game because I just don't trust the Colts. Like, I don't trust Carson Wentz right now, even though, like, going into the season, I'm like, if Carson Wentz can be what he used, even a shell of what he used to be, like, he'll be, like, the Colts could be a really good top contender. This Colts team looks, even though, like I said, they've just lost, like, to three really good teams, like, it just doesn't look like the same Colts team from last year. Like, I don't know if they're still trying to figure out their identity or whatever. So, like, with that, I just can't confidently pick them. So I'm going to, and Miami's defense is pretty solid. Obviously, the Raiders, that game was an anomaly. The word I can't ever say, but
anomaly.
Thank you. But like, I don't know. I think Miami's a more talented team. So I'm going to go with Miami actually.
The Colts have to try to get Jonathan Taylor involved. I mean, you talk about guys who are off to like super quiet starts to the year.
Yep.
He's at like 170 yards through 3 games. They're staring at 0-4. They don't have an identity. I think if you can somehow get Taylor involved, get him some screen passes, get creative, that takes a little bit of pressure off of Carson Wentz. Maybe he settles in. That's the direction I would go. But I mean, they're staring at 0-4. They've got to find a way.
And I would say, like, there's one thing 0-3. I don't know. You guys could say if you agree or not, but like I don't think you come back from 0-4. Like you might can rally to a decent record, but you're not making the playoffs starting 0-4. I don't even know what I'm pretty sure the statistics are pretty bad. Like I know there are teams that have made it, but it can't be high.
I don't know if it's like hot or not, but it's just, oh, how do I say this? It's just I'm trying to figure the right words to say here. It's just one of those like really tricky situations to me with both of these, like with this game. It's just tricky because both teams need to win, but it's just like who needs it more? Like I'm just going Miami because I just trust, like Phil said, I trust them more. But at the same time, too, if Indy were to come out and just show up, it would not shock me at all.
Right. I agree with that. Yep.
I don't think we need to talk much about this. Like Titans, Jets, I think it's easy. Titans win.
Yeah, Titans moving on.
Tighten up.
Yeah, like it's just I'm looking at this. I'm just like, man,
Derrick Henry moving on.
the only concern is like AJ Brown and Julio are both questionable this week. But if you have Derrick Henry, like he's gonna have a week.
I don't even think they need them to win, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so bad. Now moving on, Detroit at Chicago. I told Joe this off air, and I know Joe said he could do an entire podcast about this. Detroit is gonna get their first win this Sunday. You heard it here first.
I actually agree with that too. Yeah, I think they will. Chicago's a hot mess right now.
Yeah, I'm just, as a fan, I know, like, obviously, big Tom Brady fan. Let's not get it twisted, people. Still big Lions fan. They're bad. They are bad. They stink. Their defense is awful. The offense, like Goff has been actually if you watch, a couple of the games, like Goff is doing what he can with nobody. And I'm not a Goff guy, but I give him credit in there. And he's really embracing Detroit. I'll keep it brief because I know we got bigger things to move on to. I just don't see it. I don't see it at all. Give me the Bears.
One quick question I do have to add, not to waste a lot of time on it, but seeing Stafford succeed in the are you like rooting for him to win a Super Bowl, or how are your feelings towards that? That's kind of like the same situation with like Brady leaving,
I wish him I wish him well. He did awesome things for the city of Detroit. And no ill will there whatsoever. If I were him, I would have asked to leave Detroit years. So yeah, I wish him success, except against Tampa, which he's already had that, but hopefully it's a different story come maybe the AFC or the NFC Championship game.
So you do lean towards Brady. I got you. That makes sense.
So I'm guessing here you're going with your guys.
Oh, I'm going with the Bears.
So he picked Bears. Yeah.
Oh, he's going Bear down.
I picked Lions with you, Griff.
Yeah, I just something's telling me Lions. Plus, it's a divisional game. I know Joe, you want them to lose as much as they can, but I'm just thinking. I think trap game, because if the Bears do lose this game, you hit the panic button in Chicago. God, I can't already imagine what Chicago talk radio is like. Football team in Atlanta, another game. I think this is just going to get lost in the red zone shuffle. How there's a game that gets 10 seconds of airtime.
Yeah, because they won't be in the red zone.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. Take the under.
47.5. Take the under. Under lock of the week.
Guaranteed now to score 40 each.
Well, see, that's what always happens. Whenever you think it's going to be a slugfest, it's always low scoring. Whenever you think it's going to be that's a good call.
Yeah, that was me 2 weeks ago with the Giants and the football team. That's why I want to bet tonight's game, but at the same time too, the over/under is kind of worrying me, so I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah,
this game period.
I'm taking Washington in this one and the under all day.
This is the kind of game where if Washington loses, there's questions to be answered if Washington goes 1-3 after this weekend, because Washington's supposed to be this great team going into the year. Excuse me, they haven't done much. So if Washington loses this, you hit the panic button. Meanwhile, look, Atlanta, we know, is a team that needs to rebuild. They just don't want to start. And also, too, Kyle Pitts has done, literally. I feel like Kyle Pitts has been a disappointment so far this year. Everyone is saying he's going to be this next great tight end. and he hasn't done anything. He's just kind of showing to the mold of tight ends need time to develop.
This might sound like a little bit premature, but if Washington loses this, I mean, you might be willing to lock the Cowboys in as the division winner anyways right now. But if Washington loses this game, I mean, put it in ink.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I think if Washington loses to Atlanta, like, yeah, no. And one thing I'll say too, like I've been saying that like recently, and my coworker that's a huge Washington fan will kill me for saying this again because I've said it to her enough. She doesn't want him at all. I don't understand. Like, I do not understand why Newton's not an option here. I don't like. I understand you have Heineke's not your future, right? Like I liked him. Like, I liked his little run in the playoff. Like he looked nice, like whatever. But you're not banking anything on him. Fitzpatrick's gone. Like, what does it hurt to get Newton and get fan? Like, if anything, he'll sell tickets. Like, I just don't understand why Newton's not an option here. You have Rivera. Like, there must have been way more to that. Like Rivera and Newton. Like that couldn't have not ended well for Rivera to not even consider him. Like, I just don't get it.
Well, Rivera was fired before Newton got cut last year. Remember, Rivera was fired late into the 2019 season, and then Cam was cut in March.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, which would point to again, why is not even like, okay, what, bring him in, you see something you don't like or whatever, and he's gone. But like, they haven't even like, no, it's not happening. So I don't know if it's the Dan Snyder thing or what, but just something I want to throw out there. But I have Washington winning this game too. That done, yeah, and I would there too.
That's all good. And I'm guessing Joe's Washington as well.
Yeah, you said it.
Another sneaky good game. There's two sneaky good games in the 4:00 window. We have Arizona at LA, which is a huge test, in my opinion, for the Cardinals. But you know what? I'm going to say it. This may be a hot take. I think I'm going Cardinals here. I know the Rams lit up the Buccaneers last week, but I think this is a game where the Cardinals can kind of come in and, kind of shock the world here.
Man, like I'd love to believe like Arizona is like that team. It's like, man, if they could just get it together, and we've talked about it several times on this podcast, like Kyler Murray looks great. Like that team is, if they just click, but I can't, I'm not picking against the Rams until there's a reason to, and this is not the week. Arizona looked sloppy as crap early on against Jacksonville, which I know teams have like moments, and they have, obviously they picked themselves together and got the win. But it's just like, I don't know. I'm just have a bad taste in my mouth with Arizona right now. And I don't have a bad taste in my mouth with the Rams. Rams look amazing. Like NFC Championship lock right now for me. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's what their track's like that good right now. So I definitely have the Rams winning. But I wouldn't be shocked if Arizona, like, because Arizona has shown light there. But I've got the Rams.
My hottest take coming into the season was I had the Cardinals winning that division. And that's not to discredit the Rams. It's because I was higher on Kyler Murray and the Cardinals than I think a lot of people were. Not to say that people weren't on, like the Cardinals weren't on people's radar, but I have that, they've kind of done everything just about that I kind of thought that they would so far this year. Whether or not they get this game or they pull out the one at home in order to fulfill my prediction. This one's tough. This is the toughest game of the week for me by far. I think my heart's telling me Cardinals, but my head's telling me Rams. I think for this one, you know what? We'll rock with it. I think the Cardinals pull this one out somehow. I think the Rams get just a touch of a reality check. Cooper Kupp's been just lighting it up. I think they're going to try to take him away and make, not that Stafford is more than just a classic 1 or 2 read quarterback. Like, he can go through his progressions if the line gives him time, which, the Bucs did not get home at all in their pass rush. So he had time to just pick them apart. Their depleted secondary. Cardinals, I think, put up a fight, and I think they actually pull this one out. I wouldn't be surprised to see a decent amount of Arizona fans make the trek up to LA. It's not super, super far. So yeah, give me the Cardinals in this one as an upset.
No, I'm with you guys. Look, red rise up, Red Sea, baby. My hot take going into the year about the NFC West was that the Seattle Seahawks were going to miss the playoffs, and so far I think I'm being proven right, because they I know they beat the Colts week 1, but ever since then they lost to Tennessee in overtime, which they were up big. And then last week they did not exactly do anything in Minnesota. But this week they're going to San Francisco, who had a great game against the Packers, but lost because Aaron Rodgers did Aaron Rodgers things. But I see San Francisco bouncing back, and South Carolina's own Phil's boy Deebo Samuel is second in the NFL in receiving yards, only behind, I believe, Cooper Kupp. So, yeah, I'm going to say it boldly and just San Francisco over Seattle. 52-point over-under, go over here. I think this game is going to be high scoring.
Oh. So, want to go first? Or?
Yeah, Phil, go first.
Oh, I'll go first. Okay. So, no, one thing I'll say like, there's something watching the game, and I understand, like, Trey Lance, all that other stuff, but, like, watching the game last week, and I know they lost, Aaron Rodgers pulled Aaron Rodgers. I mean, who was shocked by that? 37 seconds is plenty of time to get in field goal range. But I was impressed with what I saw from Jimmy G. I don't understand why they're so keen on moving on so fast. Like, it just seemed like I don't really get bringing in I get giving him some experience, but, like, I'm just always someone that's like, go with your guy or go on to the next one. Like, bringing in Trey Lance for, like, goal line stuff is just weird to me. I don't know what Shanahan's got going with that. But it seems like a lot of people are doing that this year with the ones that aren't starting. So I don't know, but I like Jimmy G. I think he played well. I think obviously my boy Debo's played well. George Kittle had some good plays. Like, I watched that game. That game I actually got to see, and that was fun. And I think Seattle's got problems. I don't know what's going on with them. I just don't think Seattle's mentally there. I mean, defensive wise, their defense has been trash for years. So, which is shocking to say because Seattle was known for the Legion of Boom, but they're not. They're Legion of Doom now, I guess. I don't know. but yeah, I think the Niners win too. I really like that Niners team. I think they're one of those teams that if they stay healthy, if Jimmy G stays healthy, I think you have another team that is right in the thick of things in the end.
Yeah, I like the Niners here to bounce back after what happened last week. They're just the more complete team right now. They're at home. I'll take the Niners.
Simple as that. I think it's the same thing here with the CBS primetime window game, 4:25, Steelers at Packers. My other prediction was that the Steelers are missing the playoffs this year, and I think, man, it's ugly if you're a Steeler fan right now. Like, I think the Steelers were the same thing as the Falcons, but not as bad. They get that win week 1 against the Bills, but then ever since then they kind of just falter off, and I just think it's going to continue for the Steelers. It's just, I think this is it. Ben is a Hall of Famer whenever he does retire, but I think that curtain's coming down faster than people think.
It's crazy, right? Like, when you think of QBs of our generation, like, Big Ben's going to be a name that gets brought up. No denying it. Like you said, Hall of Famer. He absolutely should have hung it up last year. I don't know how they don't have somebody kind of waiting in the wings. It's not going to be Haskins long term. Like, let's be honest. But anyways, I'm going with the Packers here.
Yeah, I agree. Like, that's been my big. I've even asked. Like, I have really good friends that are Steelers fans. And it's like I've even asked. I was like, why? And they're like, I don't know. We're idiots because it's like, why do you not have not had a backup with Big Ben? Like, okay, if he plays well, then you do what the Pats had to do and other teams have had to do, move on from that guy. Like, it's like I don't understand. Like, they're clearly the Steelers have decided that we're going to play Ben until he literally rots on the field. So they've clearly decided that. And every year it starts out like, oh, Steelers will get a win like they did week 1, and it's like everybody will overreact. Oh, the Steelers are still good, Big Ben's still good, and then they come right back to earth after that game. So, Green Bay is the perfect example of week 1 overreactions, right? Like, and I'm sure I was probably guilty of some of it as well, but like, I always say, like, week 1, it's week 1. Like, we're moving on. Like, I said this after our loss. Like, I kept, once I got to the positive version of it, like I said, this week 1, people are going to overact about everything that's going on. And I do think a lot of the stuff, like, Rodgers probably did have a lot of that, the offseason stuff on his mind. And that was a lot to do with it. Green Bay is not there no more. They're trucking forward. Thankfully, they got to play Joe's Lions to get them back up. I'm sure they were glad to have that game next, and I think they're going to beat Pittsburgh. I don't know what the spread is on this, but I would take
6.5.
I would take it 100%.
Yeah, I think you take it too. So we're all in agreement to Green Bay. There's actually another test in the 425 window. Ravens at Broncos. I think this is the same as Carolina, though. I know Denver is 3-0. I think they are what the Bears were last year, where they got a few cupcake games. Like, look, they played both New York teams and they played Jacksonville. Like, you should go 3-0, anyone in the NFL. But I think this is where Denver's luck comes undone. But I'll say this, because this is a gimme. This is only a point spread. If the Broncos can hang tight with the Ravens, they'll earn my respect. But if the Broncos go out there and get destroyed, I'm sorry, you get rid of that. You get rid of the talk of them being this great team.
Yeah, I think that with the Broncos, it's like I think the Panthers are a better team, but it kind of reminds me of that a little bit, where these teams are getting off to kind of like really good starts. And what's crazy is the Ravens have a real chance at going 3-1, despite all those preseason injuries. And I do think they get it done in Denver. I just don't see I don't know. Like, I just feel like Denver's due to lose, so they're going to lose. And I know it's like not like giving like a lot of logic, a lot of reason, but like even with those injuries, the Ravens are still a good team. They're the better team in this situation. I know Denver can be a tough road trip, but I'm taking the Ravens.
Yeah, I have Baltimore winning too, and feel free to tell me the one team that Denver's beat with one win. Oh wait, they haven't. Denver's literally played the three, if not the three worst teams to start the year. So I'm not saying Denver's terrible, but Denver's not a 3-0 team, and they could very well. I've looked at their schedule; they could very well be like 3-3 or 3-4. So yeah, I've got Baltimore.
Yeah, because after this, they have Ravens, Steelers, Raiders, Browns, football team, and then Cowboys. If they come out of that stretch with still a winning record, I'll be impressed. But if they lose out of their next 6, if they lose 4 of 6, I'm not going to say anything about them. So like we said, we saved the best for last. Due to time constraints, we will not be discussing Monday Night Football. That'll be on Monday's podcast, or maybe one day later this week. Buccaneers at Patriots. I'm going to go in with Phil first, and just to get where you see on this game, but then also, too, I'm going to ask Phil and Joe both for what your favorite, like, I don't know if you have one, Joe, but I know, Phil, like, what is your favorite Tom Brady moment as a Patriot, but it cannot be from a Super Bowl game?
Oh, God, you're going to put me on the spot.
Yeah.
Favorite Tom.
If you can't think of one, you can name a Super Bowl one. I was just judging all my guests that were Patriots fans this week to name non-Super Bowl ones, because the Super Bowl moments are so easy,
God, you put me on the spot. Like, I'm terrible about my memory's terrible. But give me just a couple of seconds. Let's see. I know I should be able to spit them out. There's so many of them, but my favorite I don't know. I can't. There's just too many. Like, I can't think of one right away. A Super Bowl moment would have to be, just I could pick a. There's just so many. I hate to say it sound like that, but there's just so many I could pick from. Like, my favorite moment, obviously, the comeback against Atlanta is up there for sure. That's I love the fact that it gets lost in it because of how the game ended, but the drive that he did in Seattle was insane. Like, what he did in that short amount of time to get him downfield, like to score, and then of course Seattle like goes down the field and that happens, and that ends up being the narrative. But like, he literally like did his job. Like, the defense like almost lost it for him. So that's one of I know I'm going to Super Bowl moments because that's just what I'm thinking of right off the top of my head. It's hard for me to remember like individual. Obviously, one I can think of because it's more on my head is against the Saints when he was to win that. That was a good moment late in the game. So I don't know. I can't think of any more off the top of my head, but
yeah, the Saints one's a great one. Super Bowl 49 does go unnoticed because he was down. I know it was 28-3 gets talked a lot. He was down 10 points, and he's the only quarterback, I believe, in Super Bowl history to come down from multiple double-digit leads in a Super Bowl, just to give his remarkableness and impression on it. And Joe, is there any Patriot moment that sticks out to you, or would you rather go down the Michigan rabbit hole?
We'll keep it Patriot theme since that's what this week's about. Mine that I think it kind of gets overshadowed. I mean, some people talk about it, and I know it kind of there's a slight tarnish on it due to due to a penalty, but the AFC Championship at Arrowhead was insane. I mean, if you go back and watch that game, and everybody will tell you Arrowhead is one of the toughest environments, especially in the playoffs. What he did, you know, I think he had like 3 or 4 third down conversions. I know that the Chiefs did help with an offsides on what would have been like a deflected, or was it an interception or something like that?
D Ford was offside and they intercepted it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know that like you just see it time and time again, and like I'm always like I'll never take that for granted. What he's able to do in those final minutes, like I was telling like Cowboy fans when I was at the Bucs game, like hey, we're about to see, are we gonna get another like Tom Brady like classic 2-minute drill to get his team in position to win? And sure enough, we did. I like that. So outside of Super Bowl moments, that's the one that sticks out for me.
That's a good one, Joe. I was thinking that too, and just for some reason bypassed it. But
I thought he was going to say Jacksonville when he went penalty for a second, because that one sticks out to me too.
I was going to say too, one of the like as a team. I mean, this is more of a but Brady played well in that game. Like the Chargers, the year that they were like so deemed as like basically people just wrote them in for the Super Bowl already, and then we went and beat them. So that was a good game too.
No, for sure. But as for the game goes Sunday, Joe, I obviously know you're going Bucs, I assume.
Yeah, I will say it will be closer than a lot of people might think. What's the spread? 7 last I checked.
Yeah, I think it's 7 or 7.5. It was 6 at one point, but it went up. I'm just gonna pull up the score quickly just to check that out.
Here's the thing.
7. It's at 7 flat.
Mac Jones has a chance because I mean, nobody has been able to run on the Bucs defense. Nobody. So I think you're like, whether or not he succeeds, whatever, Mac Jones has an opportunity to come out and like throw it around if Bill lets him in that offense. So we'll see what happens. The Bucs secondary is bad right now. It is bad. I know, of course, that depends on like what happens with the pass rush, which has been inconsistent, especially compared toward the tail end of last year. But I'm going Bucs, but I do think it's closer than people think. I'll give you a score prediction. I'm thinking somewhere in the realm of like a 34-24 type game. I mean, I know that's 10 points, but I think it's going to be like one of those games where it ends up being 10 points on the scoreboard, but it felt a little bit closer.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think I love everybody coming in being like, Tom's gonna go in there. When he wants blood, he's gonna hang 40. Like, do you guys like? It's like, remember last year Sunday Nighter when it was Bucs Saints, everyone was like, oh, it can go either way, but then everyone was picking the Buccaneers to win, but then the Saints killed them. I'm not saying that's gonna happen. I'm going Buccaneers on this one, but the one thing I am saying is, it's going to be closer than people think. I think maybe 10 to 14 points. I think the Bucs win by, because I think it could be one of those games where it's like, going back and forth, but then the Buccaneers just have the manpower to pull away. Kind of like what we saw against Atlanta for them, but not as bad of a loss for the Pats.
Another point I'll throw in real quick too before Phil gives his take. I think like this is a game where the Bucs, like Brady's just been having to throw. I think this is going to be a game too where they want to I do think Brady's going to have his moments, no question about it. But I do think that they are going to want to try to establish the run a little bit, and then kind of get back to their bread and butter: run, hit that play action, run, mix in a screen, and then follow up with some runs. They haven't really been able to do that. Fournette, Rojo. I think they're going to want to try to get those guys involved, and then let Brady kind of mop up on second, third down.
Also, big storyline too is Gronk has not practiced the last 2 days, so just something to keep in mind that he may not be playing on Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah, and that would be huge. Like I've been following that pretty close, like hoping that seeing what he's going to do, if he's going to play or not. But Joe, that's a great point about the running game, because I think the Bucs are going to do that too. I think that this to me, this screams a game that people, like, everyone's going in, and even myself, like, on paper the Bucs should win by 2 touchdowns, right? And while I do think the Bucs are going to win, this is a game that just says like, man, when you go in and you have this everyone is picking, like Griff just said about the Saints game, when everyone picks them, it's like, it's almost like you're writing the story itself, right? You're writing a chance for the Patriots to win. Now, do I think the Patriots could blow them out? I think there's zero. Like, if that happens, Brady obviously got hurt. Like, there's no other scenario for me that if the Pats blew, I'd come on here shocked. But I do think the Pats could squeak one out. I do think they could. I'm not picking them to do it because it's just on paper it doesn't say that's going to happen. But it's going to be just I'm very intrigued. I think this is going to be a very meeting of the mind. Like, Belichick's not going to put it like he can say whatever he wants. Brady can say whatever he wants. They both want this game, and I think that they're going to show it in this game, and I think it's going to be good. Like I said, in the end, the Bucs could pull away, but I think for 3 quarters at least, this game is going to be a battle. And one thing I want to point out right real quick, as I know we're running out of time, is something that's just really been bothering me is the fact that there's been so much stuff just randomly coming at. Like, I know that book is supposed to
ignore that fucking book. I'm sorry to cut you off. That book is the biggest crop of bullshit ever. If you fans want a book to read about the Patriots, read The Dynasty by Jeff Benedict.
This is 100%. I'm glad you said that, Griff. And then we're going to sound like fanboys, and Joe maybe can come in with like a more unbiased decision on it. But this is a hit piece. They're 100% trying to find ways to make the unprecedented run. They're trying to make that not perfect. So, I mean, like, I'm hearing myself. I don't know if that's what that is, but yeah, like I'm tired of hearing Brady. Literally, I just saw an article in the interview that they just did. He talked about everything went fine, everything ended fine. There was no issues. Like, everything, it was literally like handled perfectly. He goes, it was best for both teams. Like, Brady's not just gonna talk out of his ass and just say that. Like, he would just dodge the question or just move like short answer. No, he legit went out of his way to say no. It ended perfectly. Like, it's fine. Like, and so I'm tired of hearing that. I'm be glad for when that part's over with, because this book means nothing to me. I don't care what if any fan takes that, any Patriot hater, they're going to be haters no matter what. And this book just gives them like their reason, that I guess like their, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but they're like ammo that they've wanted for years. But like I just really feel like there's things that he in journalism, there's people that they get the stories they want, and I think that's what he did. He got the story he wanted. He got the answers that he wanted out of it, not the actual truth. Like, he took one thing and moved it to the next thing. And I'm not saying there's not some truth, because there's going to be tension in the long run. There's going to be things that happen, but you're not going to ever convince me that it ended terribly and that they hated each other and they were ready to leave, because I think that would have been 100% way more obvious. But anyways, I'm done ranting about that.
Yeah, I mean, my stance, you can't take away. When you look back in the history books 50 years from now, you're not going to be able to take away what the Patriots did, point blank. As far as like the separation, all that kind of stuff goes, that'll all play out. People, it's media these days, hit pieces, clickbait, all that fun stuff. It's how it works, unfortunately. I think I'm excited for the Brady documentary. I know we didn't get to really touch on that. Maybe we can do a podcast in recapping each of those episodes when that comes out. I think that'll
come out. Man in the Arena, right?
Yep, Man in the
Arena. Is it this year or next year?
Next month.
Oh, next month. Jeez, dang. I realized that. Okay. Time's flying this year. All right. Yeah, we definitely need to do that. I agree, Joe.
Yeah. No, we will for sure do that and for sure touch upon that. But no, like, I just had this blurt about that because Wickersham wrote that like hit shit piece right before Super Bowl 52 as well. And then all those reports of like Kraft saying, oh, like this guy's a fucking asshole and everything. Like, it's basically just them trying to find way. It's literally a clickbait book, excuse me. And that's what it is. It is what it is. I just don't want to talk about it. It will irk me.
Yeah, and as far as I know, they got no like Belichick and like no like actual endorsement from any of them, right? Like the Dynasty actually has endorsements from them.
Yep, the Dynasty has full endorsements. Phil, if you guys want to read that, because that book goes back to like Robert Kraft's history on acquiring the team and him growing up and everything like that, all the way up until the actual Dynasty starts, and it ends with like Brady leaving. But it is a fantastic read. And I actually have another football book I'm about to read. I'm about to read the Kirk Herbstreit book. So I'm going to have to come on the podcast when I'm done reading about that book and let you guys know how it is.
Yeah, I want to know how that is too. I saw you tweet about that. So for sure.
And obviously Brady, at the end of the day, he's going to be able to tell his version of everything. And he, like, if you don't think he's going to come out with a book, you're mistaken.
Well, Brady's going to do so much. Yeah, and that's what honestly, Joe, I'll say this too to end this. Like, I love the fact that he's now able to, regardless of what, like how it was in New England, like he's able to like do all this stuff. Like this is what he in his career. That wasn't going to happen. Like in order for that, I'm not saying it wasn't going to happen in New England, but I'm glad to see that he is getting that if he did leave. Like he's getting to do all these. He's looking like he's having fun, and that's what I like to see. That like I'm never going to hate Brady. Like I'm just not going to do it. I don't care any fan that does that. Like I won't. I'm rooting against him this Sunday, but. I mean, for what he did, like, there's no, like, any fan that's bitter is just, bye, see ya. He's the GOAT.
The only fan, sorry, I'm just on the other side of the room. Hopefully you guys can hear me. The only, I just have to go put something away quickly. The only fans that are bitter are like some of the weird people from Boston. But besides that, like, don't be bitter. Like, literally for me, it's, be like, okay, up until kickoff, I'll respect you. The second the ball kicks off, I want to beat you. Then after that, I'll go back to being, you know what? Hey, you're my favorite quarterback, and you're the reason why I love football, and you're probably the reason why the three of us are having this conversation right now. So that's literally all I have to add.
Yeah, and in the end, he's gonna retire a Patriot. Like they're just trying to build it. Like there's no way he doesn't retire as a Patriot. I will say that on this podcast.
Son to Robert Kraft.
Like what'd you say?
Robert Kraft used him as a son.
Yeah, there's no way the 12's not getting retired. Like it's all that's happening. Like so all this is just smoke. Like Joe perfectly said, is like there's always they're trying to create stories and things like that. Not saying that all of them aren't not like there might be some truth to certain things that they say, but for the most part, it's just trying to create nonsense.
No, I fully agree. I'm sorry, my stupid Apple Watch notification was going off the other way. But anyway, guys, I have to wrap up here today, but I appreciate Joe and Phil reaching out. This has been episode number 115 of YWC Football Talk, guys. Enjoy the game this Sunday, no matter what happens. Go Pats. And you know what? We're just thankful to see Brady play in Gillette. Hope maybe one more time. We don't know. He could be there in 2029. But anyway, guys, we'll see you next week after the game's all said and done. Enjoy it, everyone, and have a good one.